All right. Welcome, everybody. I know we have a few who will be trickling in over the next few minutes, and we're going to jump right into the good stuff. I'm going to mute a few people, and then we will jump into it. Daylise, good morning. Glad that you're excited. We have a lot of good stuff to cover today. Okay. So, this conversation is going to be jam-packed with value. And ultimately, what we want to talk about is how do you lead generate more intelligently in your business? And specifically, how do you use artificial intelligence to work smarter rather than harder in your real estate career? And I think that the reality is that the world is moving so fast. And it seems like every minute we have to figure out how can we actually buy back our time. We have to figure out how can we do more in less time. And that's what I want you to get out of today's conversation is how you can work more efficiently and effectively. Now, I, as always, am going to share with you some timeless principles. So, of course, we'll dive into the artificial intelligence and how you can use that more dynamically in your business. I've got some awesome guest speakers with us today. I've got Kimber Walting, and I've got Mike Peregrina as well. And I'm excited for what they're going to bring to this conversation. But I also want to help set the foundation for the reality of our industry, which is that we are in the relationship business first, right? All the technology and all these things behind the scenes really are just used to elevate the client experience or help us to work more, efficiently in the time that we have, so that we can focus directly on the relationship, right? How can we spend more time with our clients, pouring value into them? And so I'm going to share some timeless principles with that. And then we'll get into also the timely strategies. Now, to start this conversation, I'm actually going to share this video. If any of you are familiar with this individual, Steve Ballmer, he was CEO of Microsoft back in the day. And I want you to watch his reaction when the iPhone was announced. So the first version of the iPhone was $500 was the investment. Okay. And back then, phones were going for about 99 bucks, 150 bucks was an expensive phone. So this was a whole new realm of investing into a piece of technology. And he thought it was kind of laughable at the time. And I want you to just think about how this relates to your personal real estate business. That there are people in our industry who say, you know what, I'm happy with how I'm doing things. I'm going to just keep repeating the same playbook time and time again. And the reality is that's going to catch up to us at some point. We have to look at ways to evolve, to provide more value than anybody else in our space. And so I want to go ahead and just show this video first, and then we'll dive into the rest of the conversation. Give me just a thumbs up. Let me know that you can hear the audio on this.
$500 fully subsidized with a plan. I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world. And it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine. Now, it may sell very well or not. We have our strategy. We've got great Windows mobile devices in the market today. You can get a Motorola Q phone now for $99. It's a very capable machine. It'll do music. It'll do internet. It'll do email. It'll do instant messaging. So I kind of look at that and I say, well, I like our strategy. I like it a lot.
Now, how does this relate to real estate? Drop in the chat if you ever run into this situation where you say, have you ever heard the terminology or this saying that if it's not broke, don't fix it? Right? And the truth is, that's actually a bad strategy to lean into when you're trying to be at the forefront of running a successful business, especially in real estate. The industry itself, right? Maybe the mechanics, the actual function of selling real estate might not change, but how we can deliver value to clients, how we can lead generate, that is always evolving and adapting. And so today's conversation is, what are some of those small, simple tips, those tricks that you can use with AI that can actually give you the edge? And I came across this quote from Alex Hormozy recently. He said that the things we believe to be true but aren't cost us far more than any debts that we could inherit. Poverty is passed down through education, not liabilities. It's a pretty powerful statement. And I think this applies to Steve Ballmer's way of thinking at that time, right? Which is that he's like, we have a very capable machine and it won't appeal to business people because it doesn't have a keyboard. Which, how many of you have a keyboard, like an actual physical keyboard on your phones today? None of us, right? And so if we get so siloed into thinking one way and not being curious and saying, is there a better way? Is technology evolving? Should I be using it more effectively? If we don't have that curiosity perspective, that is actually going to cost us a lot of not only money, but also time in the long run. So this idea that running the wrong direction enthusiastically is a prescription for disappointment in normal times and a disaster in bad ones. I believe that agents who are not figuring out how to use artificial intelligence over the next 3 to 5 years, they're going to be the ones having to exit the industry because they cannot compete with agents who are using artificial intelligence. And so we have to say, well, how can we use it a little bit more effectively? And Tony Robbins, I was at his business mastery event about 4 weeks ago. And he said this, he said that the chokehold on any business is either the skill or the psychology of the leader. Now, you are the leader of your business. You are the CEO of your business. And you've got to ask, if I'm not hitting my financial targets, or I am hitting my target, but I don't love the time investment. I'm working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and I love to hit the same financial goal, but in significantly less time. The question we should ask is it a psychology problem? Is there a mindset or a limiting belief that's actually holding me back from getting to that next level? Or is it a skill set gap? In skill sets, AI is one of those skills that you can develop right now. So you might want to ask, am I using AI the right way in my business? And specifically, how am I using it for lead generation? Now, there's two things that we can change as leaders of our business, as the CEOs of our business. We can change the procedure, so how we do things, which is the skill set dynamic, and then we can also change our perception, which is the mindset, right? And so when we focus on improving in those two categories, everything else becomes easier and sometimes even unnecessary. So improvement comes from one of two things. Again, it's shifting that perspective. It's upgrading our mindset, our philosophy, our perspective, and then also building our capacity. So it's sharpening the skill sets. And so as I share with you a few of these different like small lead generation skills that really just it impacts the return on investment of your relationship. And I want to bring that to this idea. This is, if nothing more from today, if you just take this one principle, I promise it will change your business forever. Okay. And it's this idea of relationship banking. See, the funny thing is, I don't know, drop in the chat who you primarily bank with. If it's Chase Bank, Bank of America, America First Credit Union, any of these big banks that you might do business with. And I actually want you to also think of a bank that you do not do business with. So I see a lot in the chat, Mountain America Credit Union, AFCU, Chase, University Bank, Zions, a lot of different banks that are out there. Just imagine though, for a second, just imagine that we go to a bank that you do not have an account with. And I have you walk in there and you ask the teller for $100,000 in cash. There's going to be two questions that they're asking. One question they're going to ask you directly, and the second question they're going to be asking in their mind when they look at the screen, their computer right in front of them. The first question, I want to see if you guys can guess it. What is the first question they're going to ask you when you show up to a bank to ask them to withdraw some cash? What are some of the questions they ask? They ask for your ID. They ask, do you have an account? Bingo. Do you have an account with us? Right? And they ask that in various ways. They even might ask for your ID to, on the back end, check if you have an account with them. Okay. The second question, though, that they're asking, they don't ask you directly, but if you say, I want $100,000, what are they going to look on the computer screen and ask in their mind? What are they asking? Do you even have that much? Bingo, right? Do you have sufficient funds to meet the amount that you're trying to withdraw from that account? Okay. Now, hear me now on this. The reality is the same thing happens with the clients you interact with on a daily basis. What's happening when you call them and they pick up the phone and it's been 7 months or let's say 7 years since you last called them, And then within the first 2 to 3 minutes, you turn it into a conversation of, do you need to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? What's happening in the client's mind is two things, is they're saying, does this person even have an account with me? Or has that account been closed because it's been so long since we've communicated with each other? Or the second question is, yes, I know they have an account open with me, but do they have sufficient funds? Have they actually made enough deposits to merit the type of withdrawal that they're asking for? Right. So many times we're getting a $10, $15, $20, $30,000 commission check on a transaction. So the client is asking, have they provided enough value to merit that kind of compensation? Right. So what we have to get very purposeful around as real estate professionals is, how do we actually be far more focused on just making valuable deposits into the relationships that we want to invest into, knowing that there's going to be a time where they have to make some sort of transition in real estate. Right. So my one recommendation is to never underfund and over expect. That's one of the key challenges for most business owners, is that we try to do the bare minimum. And my recommendation is to overfund accounts, to where no matter what kind of goals you have financially throughout the year, it's funded by the quality of the relationships that you've built over time. Right. And so just in the chat, I hope that this idea makes sense, this idea of relationship banking, because many agents don't realize that half of their Spirit accounts have been closed because it's been too long. Or even worse, they're overdrawn. They've overdrawn that account, right? Where the client feels like you did not go above and beyond, you did not deliver in that experience they previously had with you, and then therefore they say, hey, you overdrafted this account, right? So this is my perspective. I've kind of adapted this to fit my way of thinking in our space, which is this communication impact pyramid. Some of you might have seen this before, but this is how the type of communication has an impact on the relationships that you're building. And the focus is to say, how can I have the greatest impact on these relationships? And so there's different levels. So down at the bottom, you'll see advertising, right? One way to invest into a relationship is to advertise to people. And it's a very informational, as you can see over here on the kind of right-hand side, this is all informational zone in this bottom section of this pyramid. Okay. So you've got advertising, you've got direct mail, you have electronic communication, text, email, direct messages. And then you start moving into what we call the influential zone, where you really start to impact the relationship that you have with somebody. And it starts with handwritten notes, right? Which is a separating factor, because most people don't get a handwritten note in today's world. They get a quick text, a quick phone call, a quick voicemail, whatever it might be, because people have kind of over optimized for speed. We know that a text is going to be a lot quicker than sitting down to actually write down a thoughtful message about somebody. I've shared this before, this principle of what you appreciate appreciates in value. So when you show appreciation for a relationship, or you tell somebody what you're grateful for the relationship that you have with them, or you thank them for an experience, that value in that relationship is going to increase. So handwritten notes is what I would say is probably one of the most underutilized strategies in the book of how do you grow a relationship? How do you grow that your database in a meaningful way? The next section in the influential zone is phone calls, like actually picking up the phone and calling and connecting. Too often we revert to text, and I get it. Everybody's personalities are a little bit different. And we also kind of as a society have shifted into a different place, right? And so the reality though, is that we can't overlook the simple strategy of making a voice-to-voice contact and just checking in with people, asking how they're doing. You can tell by their tonality. You can tell by some of the questions that come up, what stage of life they might be in, or what they might be going through. And so phone calls give you an elevated experience that text messages just can't do, right? And so getting more phone calls where we're connecting with our people. The next one is events and seminars. So actually getting people in a room together, either through client events or through doing a first-time home buyers seminar or an investor seminar, actually bringing people together. And the coolest thing with those is not always the content you're sharing, it's how you have them connect with other people. So making introductions, one of the things I found and one of the things I value is when a good friend will connect me to another cool person that I want to meet, right? That I don't know. And so helping me make more meaningful friendships is something that I personally appreciate. And I promise your clients are also going to appreciate two things: either you connecting them to other people, or you just being purposeful around staging an experience for them and their family. So that's one of the power opportunities with client events, is you're actually staging an opportunity for them to create a memorable experience with their family. And who do they tie that back to? Right? They tie it back to us. And so that's why events and seminars have such an impact on your influence of a relationship. And then at the highest level, it's face-to-face and memorable experiences. So if you can curate either one-on-one, and this also includes things like listing appointments, buyer consultations, right? If you can get face-to-face with a client and sit down with them, you have far more ability, because you have tonality, you have your body language, you have your facial gestures, all of these things that can come into play with influencing a relationship that you can't get on a phone call, right? That you can't get in a text message. And so you want to think through, where do I currently spend the majority of my time? Am I spending it mostly in the informational zone? I'm posting a bunch of stuff on social media and hoping that it converts into business. That works, but it takes so much time to build enough equity, relationship equity, to be able to build a relationship that way. Whereas if we start working more on the influential zone, we can actually have less touches, more impactful, and it will go further, faster for us. In the chat, any thoughts or ideas on this? Yikes, I need to do better. I love that, just that awareness, that that we can always improve, right? And that might be a question that you ask yourself. Which one of these do I really need to focus on as we go into Q4, the last part of the year? You are about to start setting up all of your closings for Q1, right? So like, this is the busy season to lean into. I know everybody's got vacations and travels for holidays and things like that coming up, but you want to be very intentional around the seeds that you're planting, because the harvest will come in Q1. Okay. But you're starting to plant right now. Kimber, any things in the chat standing out?
So everyone's loving it. Love the visual. Jordan Larson says, how much of your relationship deposits are you making in the top half of that pyramid, in the influential zone? I think that's a really good question.
Yeah.
Let me read through just a couple more. This was a good comment from Johnny. I always think minimum of a third of our 36 touch needs to be in that influential zone. Mm-hmm. I love that call out. I would agree too. I would just add, I talk about 36 touch a lot. It is a system that I use and teach agents a lot, as far as the one system around connecting intentionally with your database. Why I love how this visual is laid out is information is not usually the zone that people change their mind. It's the zone they learn things and they collect that information. So they know about the product, they maybe learn how much a product is. The influential zone, these touches that we're looking at right now, those are going to be, the story is usually where we change people's minds, where we end up connecting with them, where we make the conversion, the sale. So this is genius, I would just add.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Sharon, I wrote down handwritten notes and more personal calls. Absolutely. Bill, totally makes sense. I will remember a meeting over an email every day. So in person is top shelf. Absolutely. Logic, information makes you think, emotion, influence makes you act. Absolutely. So that's the big key, is all these things up front on the top half is all about, it causes an emotional reaction, right? Or an emotional opportunity that you can create. And so if we just focus more there, we have more persuasion in the entire experience. So, and Johnny hit on it, the nail on the head. The reality is, this is all just thinking of your 36 touch in a different way, right? The 36 touch that we teach is essentially, how do you make 36 valuable deposits into your accounts, into your relationship accounts every year, right? With every person that you want to do business with, we should be making 36 deposits. And those are going to be a combination of these different touch points, right? And if you actually add in, direct mail, advertising, things like that, it could be far more than 36 touches. But at least 4 phone calls a year, calling people for their birthdays, One of the strategies I personally like, and especially if you use the Command mobile app, it shows you whose birthdays are coming up in the next 30 days. And I will call people 3 to 7 days in advance. I don't want to call them on their birthday. They're probably busy. They're hanging out with family, whatever it might be. So if I can call them a couple days in advance and say, hey, I know your birthday's coming up. I didn't want to miss it. I just wanted to call and say thank you and tell them something I appreciate about that relationship, right? Two things happen. One, they always have this thought in their mind. I know they don't say it to me, but I can tell it registers. They're like, Shoni actually remembers my birthday. Like Facebook didn't just notify him of it, and that's why he's messaging me on the day of my birthday. Like if I call in advance, it's very intentional to them. And so they actually do believe that I really remember my birthday or their birthday, which technology is helping me to do that, right? So if you use a CRM, please, I would recommend put the birthdays in and use that strategically. That's a great phone call to make. Another one is even fourth quarter, right? Calling people and asking if they have travel plans for family for the holidays, and even asking what big goals they might be chasing in the new year ahead. And that's one of the, I would say, plus one of this strategy is how impactful might it be if you ask people that you really care about, you ask them what their goals are for next year. And then intentionally, what you do is you send them a resource for something of value that actually aids them in that goal or in that pursuit. For example, if somebody said they're running a marathon in July, why not in March of next year, send them a book, right? Or send them a podcast where you're like, hey, I remember that you shared with me, you have this big goal that you're chasing. I hope that training and practice for this goal is going well. This is something I came across in my studies that I thought would be helpful, right? That's elevating the relationship far more than, hey, I'm just checking in again. Do you need to buy, sell, or invest? Right? It's a very different approach to building the relationship that pays in dividends. And that's going to lead us into this segment of the conversation. I want to talk about intelligent prospecting. How do we use AI to actually serve up to us the clients who are most likely to transact in the next 3 to 6 months? I want to bring my friend on, Mike Peregrina, and have him tell a little bit about his backstory and his journey in the real estate space, but then also how Walt came to fruition. And this is a tool, a little funny backstory. As you know, I'm a little obsessed with AI, just a little bit. And so anytime I see something that, catches my attention from the AI side, I test it out. So I jumped on Walt, and this is, had a partnership with SkySlope. And I noticed kind of a bug between SkySlope on their partner account with Walt. And I sent them an email and I said, hey, this is not working the way it's supposed to. The integration with SkySlope. And Mike personally messaged me back and was taking care of it. He's like, we're jumping on it right away. And so I didn't know before that, but we've kind of had this fun relationship evolve over the last 3 to 6 months. It's been really fun to get to know him. And so he's actually going to personally demo. He is the founder of Walt AI, was one of the co-founders of Homey, which most of you are familiar with here in Utah. And Mike, I want to bring you on stage and have you give us a little introduction of Walt.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks to everyone for allowing the space. Yeah, it's been a fun journey getting to know Shoni, and he is an incredible leader, and you're all in really, really great hands. So before we get started, I thought I'd share a little bit about my background so you get to know me a little bit better, and then share what we're building and sort of why we're building Walt AI. So me personally, again, my name is Mike Peregrina. I'm the founder and the CEO of Walt AI, and at Walt AI, we're pioneering a mobile-first relationship intelligence platform, and we can unpack what that is in just a little bit. But my personal mission is to make homeownership easy and accessible for everyone. I am the personal benefactor of my mom's sacrifice for the American dream of homeownership, which many of you are facilitating every single day, day in and day out. We speak to real estate agents every single day, and most of them, I would say 8 out of 10, say they believe they got into real estate because they believe they can facilitate the American dream of homeownership. And for me, that's really critical. And before with Homey, we were doing that directly. And then now indirectly, I feel like I'm building Walt AI for that reason. And, I have such a big love for that piece and the work that you do. And it all started with my mother, who was a single mother. Unfortunately, during the divorce, somehow we did not get the house. And we couch surfed with our friends, with our families for a while. And then she convinced my oldest cousin to co-sign for that house that she ended up buying. And even working 4 jobs, waking up at 4:30 in the morning. I did my LA Times newspaper route so I could try to contribute. I jumped on the bus at 5:30 a.m. I grew up in South Central LA. And then I got bussed out to go to junior high and high school, about an hour and a half each way. And even during that hard work and sacrifice, and my mother was a seamstress for her most of her career, we couldn't afford the house. So we actually lived in the garage for the better of 3 years, and we rented the front house so that we could pay for the mortgage. And that's how committed my mother was. And then she remarried, we moved in the front house, and we picked up and moved to Las Vegas. And for the first time in my life, I had my own room. I had windows and doors that didn't have bars. And I couldn't sleep because it was so quiet in this Las Vegas suburban neighborhood. That was really strange because I was used to hearing helicopters and gunshots at times and police officers. But the American dream of home ownership is absolutely amazing, and it's a privilege. And as a matter of fact, the Fed, and I believe it was 2015 or 16, did this study that the average net worth of a renter compared to a homeowner is 44 times larger for a homeowner. I mean, that is just absolutely incredible. So that's where my drive and passion, and then couple that with technology. So I wanted to share that a little bit. I grew up thinking I was going to be an architect my whole entire life, but my first real estate property when I was 19. So I've been in real estate directly or indirectly for 21 years now. And I've done it all: sales, SFR, fix and flips, even some commercial real estate as an investment banker on the venture capital side. Did that, and then as Shoni mentioned, founding Homey, and that was such an incredible ride. But it was during that time that I learned two really big lessons, really, really big pieces of information, foundations, first principles, if you will. The first one is real estate is a relationship game. Real estate is built on relationships. And I don't think that's ever going to change, and at least not in my lifetime. And I intend to be around for a long, long time. And then number three was the pain of ripping and replacing 7 CRMs, a couple on the mortgage side and then a handful on the real estate side. Because customer relationship management tools are, inherently wrong because they assume that all the leads are customers, when in reality, it's the sort of low single digits that you've actually done a transaction with, right? And ripping and replacing and seeing all that pain. And at the end of the day, we know that the best salespeople are not behind the desk. That's where the idea and the sort of passion and desire to build Walt AI came. So as we started to reimagine what that could look like, it started with downloading and onboarding. It took months, if not quarters, and tens of thousands of dollars to install, onboard, train, modify, and not to mention a couple of engineering resources and marketing resources to kind of get everything up and running. So in the matter of seconds, 25 to 30 seconds, whether you have 200 contacts in your phone or 20,000 in your mobile phone, 27,000 right now is the record, which is insane. One should never have that many contacts in their phone. What we've built are, one, AI agents that'll identify that contact only with the phone number, only with the phone numbers. No PII, no birthday, no address, no social security, definitely not that. Our AI agents will identify that person about 83% of the time. And every week we're getting better and better and better. Number two, then we enrich that contact information with valuable information: legal first name, legal last name, address, home value, equity position, interest rate, zoning, all these things. And then number three, intelligent messaging. So it sounds like you and mimics your voice and your tone, and try to pick up these conversations as if nothing, no time went by. And then finally, a move score. I call this the holy grail, and we're investing so much time and resources on it, that predicts who in your contacts on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the highest, is going to move over the next 3 to 6 months so that you can send the right message to the right person at the right time in the right medium, right? So with that, I will share my screen and I will walk through the product. I won't be able to see anyone, so if anyone needs to flag me down, just give me an audible yes or pause me. So again, you download the app, you install it on your phone, you create an account. Super easy to do. We do that with SSO. Next, you import your contacts. You give the access to the app to import all your contacts. In the background, we start doing what I just shared and identifying those contacts. And then immediately you start getting one of your contacts that's highly likely to move. Let's say Michelle Brown is in our contacts. Here's her move score. We share what that move score is. Two, again, we unlock this property data so you can get up to speed. We all know that as agents, we save contacts in our phone as Shoni, met at conference, buying soon, and we kind of never go back and clean up that hygiene there. Next piece, we have the financial insights like interest rate, home equity, the last time they refinanced, that if they did, those insights will prepare you to have a conversation in a much more intelligent way versus try to reach out and being in that information zone. Right now, you're providing insights and value, and then again, we support and share all the rest of your contacts. And on average, a real estate professional has about 1,500 contacts. The last thing you do is you enable notifications so that the app can send you messages, et cetera, when people are kind of moving around. So now, this is my app. This is live. You're going to be able to see your contacts and your leads in a way you've not been able to see them before, right? You're truly going to be able to see that SOI. They're going to be sorted from top to bottom. Again, 0 to 10, 10 being the highest probability to move over the next 3 to 6 months. As we know, the most important thing in real estate is staying top of mind with our sphere of influence. But you have to do it, and you have to stay top of mind in a very natural and personal way and in a non-salesy way. So we built this agenda. Every time you open the app, every single day, Walt will serve up in an intelligent way 3 of your contacts that are giving some exhaust, that are kind of moving in a direction, whether it's a 5.5 or maybe an 8.3 or perhaps a 9. It's something is giving our modeling that you should stay on top of that. And in 3 easy clicks, 1, and then 2, here's the prompt. Write me a text or write me an email, or you can also make a phone call from here. Our app will start sharing some messaging that mimics your voice. And that foundation for that is Mike is a real estate professional, cares deeply about relationships, is not salesy or pushy. Do not use the words buying, selling, real estate, or interest rates, right? Our customers and clients call that lead killer words because you're trying to sell them, right? There's going to be a time and a space for that, but it's not necessarily now, right? So you're going to then send that message. That's click number 3, and it's going to come directly from a phone that they recognize because, again, it's about that relationship. It's about a rapport and not an email that has a tendency to go to spam from time to time, right? So again, emphasizing that in 2 easy clicks, you get all this rich information. You can write a text message or an email and then fire it off. If that one doesn't feel right, we will regenerate another message. I love to use emojis, hence why that's in there. And then over time, our app actually starts learning your voice and your tone. Memories, this is our interpretation of notes. Those get added as you continue to use the app. And then soon as we pull in your email, your Gmail calendar, voice, we're trying to solve that problem on the voice piece as well. Once you do connect your email and your Google Calendar, you will have an outline, a timeline of all the sort of traffic that you've done and that rich content, that rich context. That's where we feed our model that mimics your voice and tone that will and then turn out, to start writing on like you on your behalf, right? So here we have some tags. You can tag your contacts as buying or selling or do not call from time to time. That happens. We are working on a way for you to filter out real estate agents. So you obviously have a lot of real estate agents in your contact books, loan officers, et cetera. But every day we make it super easy. Actually, we've made the easy buttons to stay top of mind, and brokers and agents and team leads love that. And 2 easy clicks, you can stay top of mind. And let's just say Rob Coons here is ready to buy, and I'm going to represent him as a buyer. You can now share this rich contact card and information with your favorite, loan officer or title and escrow officer, and they will get this rich information as well and sort of push him down the funnel. Here we have priorities and tasks. These are work birthdays, anniversaries, tasks that you've put in, or intelligent tasks as we look to shoot those out in the near future. And then here's your calendar, right? All the things that you have coming up today, this is where that will live. Moving on a little bit to the right, on your contacts, you can double click on one of these contacts if they've given you some good signal and keep them top of mind. So that favorites list will stay up there. You can also filter them. You can filter them by mood score, by tags, by distance. Again, we're going to be able to give you the ability to filter out real estate agents, et cetera. On the file side, here we have this integration with SkySlope. So once you've made contact, we make it super easy to send off a buyer agent agreement or a listing agreement. And again, these stay fixed here so that you make sure that these favorites are staying top of mind. And then here we have our memories. So as you continue to use the app, as we build out more features to automatically bring those notes, follow-up CTAs, if you will, those memories, again, our interpretation of notes will live here. And as you kind of do some things, and I got some tickets to the Utah Jazz, I can search here. Here's tests. She's obviously doing something that's getting her ready to move over the next 3 to 6 months. If I look at memories here on August 4th, I wrote down that she loves the Utah Jazz, right? So if I have tickets to the Utah Jazz now I can put those to work, but again, build on that banking relationship, right? If I know that about her, then now I can bridge that gap. And then you start building that rapport, that relationship. Obviously, conversations around how you're doing and family, et cetera, will come about. And then you can have the opportunity to talk about real estate when that time comes. Here, this is our more section. You can manage the app and subscription from there. You can share the app from here. Here's where you'll manage your integrations. There's so many more integrations. Command is on the roadmap as well. We want to make sure that you can easily and streamline your business as you hit the pavement out there and doing listing presentations and buyer tours. Here's where you manage your tags. Here's this tile view. This changes this view here. Personally, a lot of my contacts have images and pictures on them, so I like to see them in the tile view, and then a bunch of other stuff, terms, conditions, send feedback, et cetera. We're really, really big on feedback. As he shared, he saw a bug, and I quickly jumped on the phone, and I wanted to make sure we solved that. So yeah, at the highest level, that's what we're building. That's Wolt AI. We want to make sure we help you turn your contacts and leads into closings. So yeah, I will pause there.
Yeah, Mike, I actually want to ask you some questions. There's some in the chat that we'll bring up as well. But if you want to click on one contact, so just for clarity, if you can reiterate the move score that it's showing, one, how are you guys what data are you pulling, right, to be able to create this move score? And the closer they are to a 10, the higher likelihood they are to move, right? So you guys have kind of rated it and said, okay, if they're on a 1, they're very unlikely to move for whatever reason. And then at the highest level, a 10, they're very likely to move in the next 3 to 6 months. But what's the reasons behind that? What's causing that score?
Yeah, that's right. So I call, again, this model the holy grail. If it was easy to build, everyone would do it. But it's been my experience over the last 21 years in real estate that it's the big life events that make people move versus a lot of the property information that perhaps a lot of those other propensity to move scores are out there. So what we do on the personal side is we're underwriting the person and underwriting the property. And those collectively, you've heard this before, it's the 10 Ds of real estate, right? It's divorce, it's death, diapers, dwelling, downsizing, diamonds, default, debt, digital exhaust, right? So those are the things that feed our model. And if you can picture, these cookie jars, 10 cookie jars, and if someone gets a divorce, we know a lot of data about divorces, right? There's a 92% probability over the next 90 days that Jim is going to sell that home if they own a home. Why? Because the divorce decree said so, right? The judge said so. And we don't even have to look at the divorce decree. And, a lot of those divorce decrees are sealed, but that doesn't matter. The fact that that was filed, we know that the laws of averages and the laws of that data kind of dictate what's going to happen over the next thing. Now, that specifically, we don't specifically share. That'll be under the family piece, and that maybe grows a little bit bigger. We want to give you the signal. Obviously, if someone got a divorce or is looking to just got a promotion and they may be thinking about moving soon, those are things that perhaps can be celebrated, right? The inverse of that would be a divorce, obviously a painful situation for many around. So we want to be thoughtful on how we share those specifics. That's a big product opportunity and challenge for us, and that'll come soon in the future. But that move score, again, as it moves higher and higher, they're going to move over the next 3 to 6 months. And so far, out of thousands of users and customers that we have on the platform, it's directionally correct, which is really, really exciting for us. People are sparking conversations organically, not about real estate, et cetera. So those are the inputs that go into that move score.
Yeah. It's funny. I had a top agent mastermind last week, and my top agents downloaded this app. And one of them said, hey, this person in our office, it shows them as the highest likelihood to move. And Nova Lee, my admin here at the office, she's like, I talked to that person last week and they said they're moving out of state. So the funny thing is, like you mentioned, it's directionally correct. Nothing's 100% ever, but it's better than searching in the dark, which is what we currently do, right? So it's just saying in general, dig here in this general vicinity. These are the most likely clients in your sphere of influence that for whatever reason are most likely going to move. But then also, if you can scroll down a little bit, Mike, like what kind of information does it actually bring in here that, again, agents are not going to go do all of this digging on their own? If you can find one that has, I know it brings in, if they have interest rate, the equity that's in the home, things like that, that can also be useful information that it automatically finds for you.
Yeah, let me find one of those here. Okay, yeah, this is a good one here. So here's Nico. We went to college together. He's a 9.6. He's actually getting married soon. So here we have all this information. So here's where they live. You can click on that and go on maps and do a little bit of research and digging. This has been such an easy button tool to find out what neighborhood that is. Obviously, this is Las Vegas. I lived in Las Vegas for over a decade. So, for our agents, they start resonating with that area because either they sold a listing or they helped a client buy in that area or they grew up in that neighborhood. Again, bridging sort of that insights, to build that rapport. We bring in market value, square footage, bedroom, bath, all this information that's going to be super helpful for you to come in and be equipped with the intelligent insights and information, and not go in kind of in the blind, as Shoni mentioned, right? And then interest rate here is a good example here, right? So he obviously refied in 2020 when interest rates started dropping. If he has a 3% interest rate and interest rates are hovering around 6%, now you get to go into this conversation, again, not necessarily being salesy, but providing insights that if he wants to buy a new home, and it's going to be at a 6% interest rate, maybe he should keep this property as a rental. And on a weighted average, that interest rate is probably, less than 5% or 4%. And then maybe use some of that cash flow or excess cash flow because he's never going to find this interest rate again, or at least for a long time, right? And then we get access to their LinkedIn profile and Facebook so that you can also, maybe do a little bit more research and digging instead of having to go to a Google search or paying one of your admins. What I like to say is where our AI agents are being designed to be a research analyst and then also a title and escrow officer, right? To verify all this real estate information in milliseconds versus hours and days that may take.
Can I jump in and ask a quick question?
Yes, please.
This comes up a lot with the conversations I have with agents around our CRM at Keller Williams, because we're talking a lot about data agents. And this is actually where we get in alignment with a lot of agents in our data pledge that we make at Keller Williams. So if an agent uses this, what does that look like for their own database, their own contacts? Because that is the question I know a few of our agents have asked, but I know I will probably continually get that question. So how can you speak to that as far as the protection of the agent's data, their database? That comes up all the time. So what would you say?
Yeah, it does. I would say we have a really robust privacy policy. So the data is co-owned by Walt AI and then obviously by you. If you ever want to delete your account or have us erase that, we're happily to do that. The reason why that's the case is obviously we need that your data, your contacts, to be able to provide the service to you and then to train our models and start increasing our move score to make sure it's more accurate. So now that there's been a handful of users that have actually closed transactions from downloading the app a couple months ago, we can use that data and say, Bill Jones closed. What has Bill Jones done in the last 9-12 months? And if there's other similarities within your contacts or database and leads, because we can also import that with a big bulk upload. We support that via .csv file. We train our models to get smarter and smarter, and that obviously benefits you. My co-founders and my backend engineer, they work at NAV. They're a facilitator to small business credit. They work with the three major credit bureau companies that have a lot of and extensive knowledge in data protection, data privacy, et cetera. So we take that really, really serious. The one thing I will emphasize as well is that we will never sell that data, to other platforms, et cetera. That's not the business model we in. This is your data. These are your contacts. It's how you butter your bread, right? It's your sphere of influence, your gold bar, and we take a high degree of respect for that, right?
Love it. Just a few last questions, and then we'll pivot. So we have: is the app bilingual, or is that coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is not bilingual just yet. That's an exciting opportunity for us to do that. Last week, I heard that I think Rate Mortgage now has a fully Spanish application and all the supporting customer service things and needs to that. And I just thought that was amazing and fabulous. We want to, yeah, I think that's a great opportunity. We'll let the market, tell us Spanish first or what other language. But right now it is only in English. But that's a great question.
Yeah, awesome. And then if you want to go through just pricing structure, and I'll actually I know you put together a promo for everybody on today, so I'll throw that up there for them. But
yeah, so pricing is only $99 a month per user per month. We are doing a promo code and a special promotion for everyone here. You download the app in your subscription, manage that subscription. You type in Walt AI 50. You'll get 30 days for free versus 14 days, and then you'll get 50% off the next following 3 months. For that.
Cool. So $50 base free for the first month, and then $50 for the next 3 months to experience it. And I believe you guys have a free version for a limited amount of contacts.
Yeah, we do. Everyone starts on the freemium model. So what we've learned is that the real estate professional has about 1,500 contacts in their phone, in their contact book, obviously more in the leads and database, which we can take in. We give you 150 of those contacts for free. Right, so you can experience the app. As you continue to scroll in your contacts, you'll see that from 151 onwards, they'll be blurred out, and then you can upgrade to the premium, and then that unlocks all of your contacts in your mobile device, including a .csv upload. Just share that with us, and then our engineers will add that on the back end into your application, to your Walt AI app, and make that happen for you there. And then again, with that promo code, you'll get it for 30 days free versus 14 days, and then 50% off of the first 3 apps. For the first 3 months.
Cool. Awesome.
So just to clarify, it's $99 a month per user per month. If there is an annual option, you'll get a 16% discount. It's $999 if I did my math right. If you pay up front for a year, there's actually been a handful of folks that have actually paid that. Just from the value we create from cleaning up the database and providing all these insights and information is pretty cool. Is there a contract? No, I don't believe in contracts. I want to build a product that you love. I want to build a product that meets you where you are, is mobile first as you're moving around town, et cetera. That I would want your feedback for sure, to make it better, but there's no contract.
Awesome. Great. Well, we're going to jump into this next segment. We have 10 minutes left. So I want to make sure that we jump in. And Mike, thank you so much for joining us today and going through this. This will also be in the recap email, so you guys have access to Walt. I highly recommend you test it out, especially if you want to say, how can I really leverage a tool to be, again, more focused on the clients who have the highest likelihood to make a move in my database. We have to spend our time more efficiently. And that's part of what we're going to talk about in this segment, which is that there are 2 different ways to grow your business. There's in lead generation specifically. There's prospecting, and then there's marketing. Okay. And prospecting specifically is what we just went through, which is how do you focus your time and your energy, and you directly target people in your sphere of influence that you want to communicate with and build a relationship with, to where you can actually transact and do business with them. Right? Marketing is you're externally putting resources out in the marketplace to get people to reach out to you. Right? And so it's a different approach. Or you're building presence, brand presence, right? Building awareness. And this is where I want to show you some strategies of how to use AI to create what we call MOFers. So MOFers stand for make offers for immediate response, or in other words, lead magnets. The best strategy with marketing is to throw out lead magnets, things that are valuable to people in your database or just online that gets them to interact with you. Okay. Too often, if you actually scroll through Facebook or Instagram, most real estate agents market themselves or they market properties. Okay. If you go look at an agent's profile on Instagram or Facebook, what you'll see is a lot of times they're saying, hey, I'm in real estate, just a reminder, and they're marketing really themselves, or they are marketing things like, I just sold this home, or I just listed this property, or here's a new home that's on the market, and they're marketing the property itself. That's good, but one of the challenges that you'll run into is there's a limit to the impact you can have on a relationship by doing it just that way. Meaning that it is something where when people are scrolling through Facebook, when they see you have a new listing, they're going to hit like and they're going to keep going, right? For the most part. A different way of approaching this is saying what lead magnets are going to be valuable that are both timeless and then timely. There's two different types of lead magnets you can create. So timeless means they'll last forever. You can do this strategy 10 years ago, it would have worked. You can do it now, it's going to work today, and you can do it in 10 years and it's still going to work, right? For example, a first-time home buyer's guide has been a part of people's playbook forever, right? People who want to buy their home for the first time, they need some guidance. So if you put a playbook together, most likely you can use that playbook today, but you can also use it in 10 years. People are still going to be asking the question, how do I go through this process and buy my first home? And so we have to start thinking through, do we have, and this is a question to ask yourself, do you have a library of lead magnets? Do you have 5 to 10 different offers that you can make that get people to interact with your things? Here's a strategy from Alex Hormozy. He said, give until they ask. Meaning the focus should be, how do you give so much value? Because in our industry, we know the cycle of somebody buying or making a move is about 5 to 7 years, right? So the challenge is most agents try to time it. They say, I'm going to wait till that 4 years and in 11 months, 1 month out before they try to make a move, and I'm going to reach out to them. It's impossible to try and time it and know when somebody's going to make the transition. Of course, with Walt, that can kind of give you some perspective of, what likelihood they might be in and why that might increase. But what we need to do is say, how can I just give value for 5 years straight? So that way, whenever they do need to make a move, I'm the first person that pops in their mind. Okay. So this is just an idea, but I'm going to show you how to actually create MOFRs using AI. And then also how you can build an AI, a library of offers where you can rotate through these every quarter, every month, whatever it might be, at your own cadence. Okay. So real estate rewards the long game, not quick wins. And we want to deliver value for an extended period of time. Most agents don't earn what they want because they're not willing to deliver value consistently for 12 to 60 months before a big payoff shows up. So we just need to say, how can I systematize my value delivery and just be able to give until they need support, and then they come to me. So I'm going to jump forward to a few things. This is a funny story. This is a true story. You can go fact check it with AI or go ask Google or Perplexity. But I think it was in the early 90s. There was a drug dealer who was caught running through the woods because he had light up shoes on. Okay. You can go verify this story. And the funny thing is, just think through this, right? Can you just imagine somebody running from the police and they don't think to just take the shoes off? Like, I'm running through the dark woods and I don't want to get caught. I should probably just take these things off, right? Now, I want to actually use this, though, strategically for you. So I want you to think about this. What if you purposefully gave all of your clients light up shoes where it kind of highlights their intent? Who's most likely to make a transition? Meaning, for example, you start offering lead magnets on Facebook, on Instagram, in your email, through text message, whatever it is. If it was an investor's guide or a first-time home buyer's guide or 7 steps to selling your home in 90 days, whatever it is, if they click on it and they have to put their email, their phone number in to download that resource, what they're essentially doing is putting light up shoes on. Okay. They're putting these shoes on and they're saying, hey, I'm potentially going to buy my first home if they're downloading that guide. Or maybe they're downloading it for a family member that they're going to send it to, right? So what they're doing is they're actually showing you where to focus, right? They're saying, hey, focus on me because I have a higher likelihood for whatever reason to make this real estate decision. And so what we want to do is say, okay, well, how do we build these? And I'm going to go ahead and just show you a few things. Let me open up. Kimber, can you tell me if you guys see my entire screen? Let's see. Is that popping up correctly now?
Yes.
Cool. So I'm going to go into Notion and I'm going to pull up an example of what a lead magnet library could look like. So last month, we went through business systems. We talked about this tool called Notion, which is an organizational platform. If you are not familiar with this tool, I'd highly recommend you go check out that recording. It is in our school library. So if you go to, which I'll share this after showing this thought, I'll share the access to this. But you can go right into our community and click on this AI Business Systems Organize Your Chaos. That was the last month's reporting, and it's available for you to go through and watch. That gives you a little bit more scoop on Notion. But here's an example of a lead magnet library where we have a real estate ebook, we have a first-time home buyer's guide, we have a monthly market update. We have this mortgage hacks playbook, 5 different ways to be able to buy a home with a lower interest rate, a real estate investor's guide, a Zestimate text. This is just more to text people directly and get their response. A high value client dinner. Maybe you're going to curate an experience and get 4 to 5 of your VIP clients to a very nice dinner, Cheesecake Factory or Ruth's Chris, whatever it might be. And you're going to actually connect them to one another. Maybe they don't know each other yet, and you want to make some meaningful relationships and spark those relationships. So you can basically just build out this library so that it's easy for you to find your lead magnet or mofer in the future, right? And the second part to all of these is asking yourself, what different channels or ways do I want to use this mofer or this lead magnet? Okay, do I want to send this out through email, through text message? Basically, what you can do is re-engineer this information to fit multiple outputs or formats. This is a letter that I would send in the mail to my database, but I can also just change all of this. I can take this information and have AI, change this into an email newsletter or change it into a social media post that's far more condensed. So you can use these things in different ways, but here's the strategy. I have good content here, but most importantly, I have the lead magnet down here. See your home value. So I'm providing value up top, and then I'm giving them a free way to see their home value. And if they click on that, obviously they have to put their address in, and then it says, great, where do you want us to send the CMA? And that's where it's asking for their personal information, their name and their email, right? So then I can go ahead and capture the lead and say, okay, this person wants to see their home value. The question is why? Why might they want to see that? And I can jump on a phone call and interact with them and go a little bit deeper, right? So the power of having lead magnets is that you can throw these things out that are items of value that your clients want to take advantage of. Now, here's an example of how you might build these. Let me show you. We're going to use Claude AI to build some content. So let me open up. I have just put this simple prompt together, and I want to show you a simple way where think through the different lead mofers you might want to offer your database. When I first started this process, one of the biggest ones that I was using is a landlord guide. So basically clients who wanted to start as an investor, but maybe didn't know how to get started. Basically, it's a simple playbook showing them how to buy rental properties and also self-manage so that they can start building their portfolio. So what you can do, though, is Claude, in my perspective, is the best for creating content. ChatGPT is great for strategy. It's great for business principles. But when you want to create something long form, Claude is far better. So what I'm going to do is just ask Claude to build this for us, and I'm going to just show you how I've laid out this this prompt. Create a first-time homebuyer's guide and a strategy to effectively market it using the below information, and make sure that we do it in 2 separate artifacts. So for those who have not used Claude, it is a large language model. It's similar to ChatGPT, but it's a different organization, and it has different skill sets. So one of the things that you'll see is I can actually have it build long form content. They call it artifacts. So they're basically like documents, and it will build 2 of them at the same time. So, or back to back. So I just gave it some parameters of what I want in the first artifact, which is the first time homebuyer's guide. But I also want the marketing strategy. How might I market it? I want to send it through email. I want to add it to social media. I want to add it in multiple formats so I can market it effectively. And I want Claude to build the strategy for me. So I'm going to send this, and you'll see it will open up this side window. And this is, again, what's called an artifact on Claude. I found it to be also far more natural language sounding. So it sounds like a human, whereas sometimes ChatGPT can actually sound like it's AI. What you'll notice here, if you were to do the same thing in ChatGPT, Chat would actually do this let me try and move this window around a little bit. I wish I could minimize this for you all, but oh, there we go. So Chat will be very short and concise in the information it gives back to you. It's limited on how much context it can actually create or build out. Whereas you can see here, this is far more in depth than what ChatGPT would actually spit out first round. And so it's going through and it's built this entire table of contents, getting started, step-by-step home buying process, understanding key terms, financing your home, working with a real estate agent, common mistakes to avoid, and your home buying checklist. So it's built that for us in maybe 20 seconds, right? And then what it's going to do is you can see it's now building the second document, which is actually the marketing strategy. So instead of having to go through this long process with ChatGPT of, okay, Chat, you might want to do this section by section, basically each chapter. So you would just say, start with, key tips for buying your first home. And then what's the checklist and why is it important to work with an agent to make sure you have enough context per chapter. Whereas with Claude, it's able to build it all out in one go. But on top of that, as you can see, it's building out all of the marketing for me. So how do I market this to my sphere? How do I do it on social media? How can I start maybe running some ads to generate leads with this playbook? How can I actually add this as a value add in-person events and marketing? So maybe I'm going to do a first-time homebuyers seminar, and I'm going to provide that as a free asset if they show up to the class. And so it builds all of this content out for you in one go. So I would recommend you go do this for all of the 5 to 10 different lead magnets that you want to create, right? So you go ahead and build the playbook or the strategy itself. And then what's the marketing strategy? What are the different angles by which I want to go ahead and market this? Kimber, I can't see the chat. Any questions popping up? I know I just jumped through a lot there.
Yes. So I shared the link for the school community. Once you join that group, you'll see right at the top, we have the link from from the class where we talked about Notion and then some of the strategies around that. I had one person ask if you're willing to share the prompts or if that's somewhere in the community.
Yeah,
or any of the prompts.
All of this will be posted in the community. So that's the best place. We put the recording in there. I'll share this now so you can click on that. It's free. So it's just a community for agents who want to leverage AI. And I think we have a little over 300, maybe 350 people that are in there now. You can scroll through it. People share their best practices and strategies. So it's a good place to be in and something I recommend just being a part of. But we will throw the recording. We'll throw the prompts in there. And again, I'll add a few other things that we don't have the time, unfortunately, to go through. I had some other stuff prepared, but it's a lot of content we're trying to pack into a short period of time. So I will include that in that group as well. Okay. Do you need more than one AI? So think of it this way. If you're building a team, right, as a business owner, you most likely are not going to hire one person that is going to be the janitor for your company. They're going to be the CFO, the financial officer. They're going to be the CEO, the marketing director. Like they're going to wear all these hats. It's just very unlikely, right? That's how I found most agents are trying to use ChatGPT right now is like it's the catch-all. It's good at some things. It's not great at everything, right? And so, for example, when it comes to external facing content, Claude, from my perspective, is miles ahead of ChatGPT in creating content that resonates with people and that is long form. And so you want to think of them as having different personalities. And you say, you know what, I'm going to put Claude as basically my marketing director. Whenever I'm creating content or social media posts or like this, a long form playbook, I'm going to have Claude go to bat for that. I might have ChatGPT, which I did, create the prompt for Claude. So that's where I strategically went to Chat because it's a great thought partner. It's a great business strategist. And I said, I need a prompt for Claude to build out my first-time home buyer's guide, as well as a marketing strategy for it to effectively market in multiple channels, right? In multiple different ways. So I used both those tools hand in hand, and that's where you get a lot of momentum is when you start partnering these tools together. A lot of them are free too. So like both Claude and ChatGPT have free versions. So if it's a effectiveness thing, I would say sign up for the free versions. If you start to use it more, that's where they say, hey, hold on, you've got to upgrade to continue using Claude or ChatGPT or whatever. But you can decide which tool you use far more often. The last thing I'll share is to just go one step further. Some of you were not on this event a couple months back. Let me share this. This is the next step to really nailing it or driving it home with these lead magnets that you're building. Is if I take the done product in Kimber, are you guys seeing Claude again?
Yes, sorry.
Perfect. So if I click on here, this is where I can jump between the different pages or artifacts, and you can have it build 5, 6, 7 pages if you needed it. But I'm going to go back to the first time homebuyers guide and copy this and take it over to, as some of you know, the best tool for designing these type of things. I'm going to take it over to gamma.app. And I'm going to select document because I want to create an actual playbook for my clients. And I'm going to have Gamma now create the nice visual PDF, which is what I'm going to actually offer to my sphere. I like to do freeform, and let's call it a 12-page playbook. Once I hit generate, you can spend more time on customizing up front what kind of theme you want, what kind of photos you want it to build. But this is going to take it a step further and actually build out the PDF deliverable that I'm going to offer on Facebook, where I'm going to text it to my client or email it however I want. In minutes, I have basically a marketing team. This is an AI marketing platform where it builds all the content to look good. So instead of just having this on a plain Google document, I can actually put it into a nice formal presentation where I can share this with my clients. You can change the theme. So after it's all built, you could say, I want a dark theme, or I want this color. So you can go through here, and they have many different options that you can choose from. And so you can go find one that fits your brand theme. But it is going to build out for you this nice deliverable for your clients. You also can customize the themes and save your preferred theme. So if you go to customize here, this is where you can change your brand colors. You can change the fonts, the logo. So you can put your brokerage logo on here so that all of your content has that logo pop up on it automatically. You can change the formatting of all the visuals, all the content blocks that are on here. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in customizing the actual design aesthetics before you download this as a PDF. Now, the value to your clients is massive. If I show you an example, this is one of the responses I had from a client. Let me go back into our slides. So this is a text that I received. I had a client who said, hey, Shoni, I wanted to introduce you to Hunter. Hunter just picked up his first rental property. I sent your landlord guide, and he'd like to learn more about how you help investors. Shoni, I'll let you take it from here. So the idea is you want to build resources that are so good, your clients are going to share them with friends and family, right? It creates repeat and referral business. It also positions you as an expert in the field. So just think through, do I have a first-time home buyer's guide? Do I have an investor's playbook? Whatever those resources are that you want to create. And then also getting a little bit more creative and saying, well, what are the other types of lead magnets that I'd like to build for my business? And that's where when you get into the things that, could be the equity assessment calculator or whatever it is that you want to offer as something of value for your clients to take advantage of. So I'm going to jump to this last part. My last recommendation is to pick 5 to 10 relationships who are your VIP clients that you want to deliver meaningful experiences to, where they're going to be an investor that buys multiple properties per year with you, or they might be that client who is going to send you a ton of referrals. So if you think through your database and you say, for example, I've had one client who sent me 4 referrals that have closed this year. I need to invest into that relationship and lean in more so than clients, who might not ever send me a referral, right? So this is an experience that I had. This was Tony Robbins' event he does for what's called his Platinum Partners. And so we went to New Zealand last year, and upon arrival, they staged basically 5 days of like the best experiences possible, right? To where their goal is to say, how can somebody walk out of this and say, this is the best week of my life? And I'll tell you, there's moments where I'll never forget some of the things that they had curated or staged in that experience. The first thing after we got off the plane, they said, hey, you need to go drop your bags off at the hotel. We're going right to the marina and we've got a surprise for you. And what it was, if any of you are familiar with America's Cup, basically they race sailboats around the world. It's a massive event worldwide. And this was the trial heats to get into the America's Cup. They actually put us on the boats for the trial, right? For them to qualify to actually go into the America's Cup. So we were on the boats actually able to experience this real time. And it was a phenomenal experience where it's something where they staged this memory, right? That I will remember forever. And I'll go through just a few examples of this. This was the rest of the week. So one day they had an entire just helicopter tour day where they had the most helicopters that had ever been chartered in New Zealand at a given time. There's 40 helicopters that came and picked us all up. And they just took us through this amazing experience throughout the day where they finished off with a nice dinner at this beautiful setting. They parked all the helicopters right outside of the venue, whereas, nice glass windows where we can see the helicopters while we're eating lunch and just connecting with people. And so again, this is this idea where if you can actually stage micro experiences, either in small fronts, for example, you don't have to go crazy and spend a ton of money, but think through your clients and say, would it be valuable for them to have a day out with their family, right? To come to my water park event or to come to my pumpkin patch event. I know some of our agents are doing that this past week. And how can I curate those experiences where they're going to remember that moment forever? I know Susie Clyde, I don't know if she's on right now, where she will purposely take pictures of her clients at her events and send those pictures to them afterwards, right? Where she's the one that put that event together where they're able to remember that experience. And this is the last photo. This is where I'm terrified of heights, as you can tell in the picture on the left. They had us do this massive swing and also bungee jump. I would not have done that experience if they did not curate it and put it together. Again, extremely terrified of heights. But since there were 50 other people doing it, I was like, well, I can't be the only person that doesn't do it. And so the thing with this is if you can stage these kind of experiences where people will remember those experiences forever, it is the thing that will pay you forever. So if you have high net worth clients or you have clients who are buying multiple homes per year, you might want to think about how can I spend $1,500 or $3,000 or $5,000 on an experience they'll never forget, and you earn that referral partner for life. And then again, if it's clients that maybe they're buying their first home, you can still stage experiences, but on a smaller scale. And you can say, hey, I can pay $50 for them to come to a water park event, right? So there's levels of how can you stage experiences. And it's, again, going back to that pyramid, that impact pyramid, where you want to focus on the influential zone, not just the informational zone. And that's where you get the higher ROI, the return on your investment. So as we wrap up, I'd love to see in the chat, what are your top takeaways from today? The things that you're going to go take action on. We always say this, that education without implementation is a form of entertainment. I don't want you to just be entertained today. I want you to go take action and see meaningful results in your business. So just drop in the chat, what's the one or two things that you found helpful as an idea today that's going to move the needle for your business? Finally got to see Gamma in use. Gamma is powerful. Such an awesome tool. You can even build websites with it. So if you want to build a landing page for a client event that's coming up, you can totally do that. Excited to work on MOFers. Yeah, make offers for immediate response. Build that library, and it becomes so easy to repeat through those every year. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every year. You can say, these ones will always work. I can just pull it out of my playbook, and I've got it to go. That's a great one. Pick up the phone. Absolutely. Pick up the phone, call people, make some connections, get face-to-face, creating a lead magnet library, how to make valuable deposits into your clients' accounts. Love it.
A lot of people mentioning playbooks.
Awesome. Love it. Last thing I'll share, I'll just throw this up here. For any of you who have not yet taken the AI Mastery course, that is something I highly recommend. We made that available for you as well. That is a paid resource. Once you pay, you have access, lifetime access to it. It's $297, but that gets you access to basically your over the shoulder looking at my screen. And I go through all these different tools in a different level of detail. because we can go ahead and you can pause your computer and actually implement some of these strategies. So there's 10 different AI platforms that we teach in that AI mastery course. So if you want to go deeper on that, there's that access. It's also found in school. So either one. But our goal is to help you be on the right side of this history equation, meaning 10 years from now, people are going to say, do you remember those agents who did not use artificial intelligence? What happened to them? Right? They got out of the business because they couldn't compete. And I hope that everybody on this chat are the ones that are on the right side of that equation, where you are an AI empowered agent. You're using it effectively to give your clients more value, but also be able to earn more income and buy your time back. So we hope you have a great week. We will have another session. You'll see in the email recap. We will have another session in October the 24th. We're going to be talking about how to actually use AI to serve investor clients. So how do you actually work with real estate investors, or how do you invest in real estate more intelligently using AI? So it's going to be a fun conversation. I'll show you some tips and tricks around that. And we will see you on the 24th of October. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks all.
Thanks, everybody.